What's up, guys? Julian here. And today this is going to be a little bit of a more location specific daily. It's not even really a daily, right? This isn't going to be like daily number 24. This is just me talking about this for a second. So over the weekend we had Utah States, of which I lost my win and in. I was X1-1 going into the last round. Had to play against a teammate. He was also X1-1. So it was whoever won got the top 8, which sucked. It was awesome for him, but like it sucked because I lost. But whatever, it's fine. I'm really glad that he got in the top 8. But anyway, so states. It was crazy. There was a whole bunch of stuff that happened, like a whole bunch of drama that happened during the top 8 of states. And I want to talk about it tonight. Now, this was originally going to be a hangout where I was going to have like 4 or 5 other people, kind of like we did last week. They had people calling in and have a whole bunch of stuff happen for us to talk about this. But it's just not going to be conducive. I can't get everybody on until Tuesday or maybe even Thursday of this week. By then it'll be so far gone and past removed that the details will be fuzzy. We'll be making up stuff, and I really want to talk about this right now. So here's what I want to talk about. Basically, everything that happened over the weekend falls into 2 categories, right? It falls into either whatever happened, like this part of it or this thing of it, either it does matter or it doesn't matter, right? The does matters are things like the facts, what really happened. That doesn't matters are things like crazy allegations and just personal insults and attacks. So I'll give you an example. I mean, for the Utah players who know who I'm talking about, you'll know who I'm talking about, but I still don't want to say his name. But there was allegations made that one of the players in our state, like faked sanction drafts in his own house or something to get onto the Pro Tour. That's just garbage, right? It's garbage because it's just a rumor. You have no idea, right? You have no idea if that really happened or not. Probably it didn't. I know the guy. He's a stand-up guy, right? Besides that. That is something that doesn't matter. So people are talking about that and about how he colluded in the finals, and that's garbage, right? Unless you are part of the collusion, you don't know. And spreading the rumors, all that does is it just hurts the Magic community. It doesn't help at all when you talk like that about people. Things like your own dumb allegations. Well, I know that they colluded and did this, that, and the other. Especially the word collusion. People use that a lot this weekend. You should understand that something's anyway. So here's the idea of what happened, right? I'm going to preface this by saying I wasn't actually there, but I've talked to maybe 20 people, and I have a good idea of what I think actually went down there. So here's what actually happened. Okay, so for the top 8 players meeting, I guess the judge announced that there was that the matches were that the rounds were going to be timed. Or that they had a limit of 1 hour. Now, what's fuzzy on the details, the Facebook page says 50 minutes. The judge says he announced 60 minutes. Someone else said he announced 50 but then gave a 10-minute extension. I don't really know what happened there. But apparently there were some imposed time limits on the top 8 rounds, which is very not normal. I talked to most of the members of the top 8. They weren't aware. So either they didn't hear or they didn't listen very well. But anyway, so during round 2, one player was playing against another. They had gone their hour in the first 2 games, and they were going to start their 3rd game when the judge came in and said, all right, that's it, your time's up, it's now sudden death. And of course one player was furious because he was playing a control deck. And sudden death, for those of you who don't know, is that the first change in life totals decides the game. So the first person to go up wins, or the first person to go down loses. And the control player was very angry about this. The other player just mulliganed to a pillar flame and a mountain, and just went mountain, pillar you, I win. It was very frustrating. I can imagine it being very frustrating for the other player. And it was. I don't know how well that was handled. Probably, if it wasn't clear, the top 8 didn't actually know or understand that was going to be happening. Maybe the judge could have made a judgment call. Again, I wasn't there. But so that happened, right? And so this player who lost was very angry because he had a very good matchup against the other player's deck, and probably would have won the 3rd game. More than likely, he would have won the 3rd game if they'd have been playing. And I don't know for sure, right? But anyway, so then they move on to the finals. And the person who won in sudden death by casting the pillar flame, he wasn't going to any PTQs for the season. Our nationals, our states also qualified you for the TCG Player Open Invitational. He wasn't going to go to that. He wasn't interested in any of the things that come with being a state champion, and he was just done and just wanted to go home. And the player he was playing against in the finals was anticipating doing all of that if he got the state championship. So the first player conceded to the second, said, "Okay, you win. You take the state championship. I'm done." And the first player then gave the second player some of the prizes from the prize pool, which is just a prize pool, nothing outside of the game. And they left, and that was the end of it. And the Utah Magic community we just blew up. We just went nuts. First of all, about the sudden death thing, and about the judge, and then about, was there a collusion going on? Because I guess people didn't hear the discussion, and all this other crazy stuff that happened, right? And it just doesn't, guys, it just doesn't help when we just freak out and we get all angry. And that's what happened on Facebook. There were tons of personal attacks thrown about the integrity of the store owner and the integrity of the judge and the integrity of the players in the finals and all of this crazy stuff that went down. And I just want to tell you guys, like, a lot of that just doesn't matter, and all it's doing is hurting. It's not helping in any way. All it's doing is creating a rift between players and between players in certain stores and other stores. And that's just not what this talk should be about. We should talk about things like making sure that we are more clear going forward about things like sudden death. It wasn't clear enough. Whether or not the judge announced it or not, some players say he did, some players say he didn't. I wasn't there, I don't know. I didn't make the top 8, right? But it should have been more clear, right? And that's something we need to know going forward, is that if there's a sudden death, if there's something like that, if there's something out of the norm for a top 8, because sudden death is very out of the norm, it needs to be very clear to the players exactly what's happening, and multiple times, because we all know Magic players don't listen very well. So, multiple times telling them and just making sure they understand what's happening during that match. Probably the finals of the state championships, probably, like, you should talk about it more. I don't know, make it more clear what's happening. I guess both players kind of, okay, you win, hey, here's some prizes, thank you so much, and they're just gone. And it was like, what just happened? Like, a lot of the players really confused, and I got a whole bunch of phone calls, because I'm kind of like a face, I guess, in the Utah community. And so, I drove a friend home, and then because I didn't make the top 8 and I was tired and grumpy, you know how you get grumpy, and so I just went home, and by the time I go home, I had like a bunch of messages, a bunch of voicemails, a bunch of missed calls, and things on Facebook, and people were just going nuts because they just didn't know what was happening. They just didn't know what was happening, and so a whole bunch of assumptions were being thrown. That was another big issue, is it was a whole bunch of assumptions. It was a person saying, I didn't hear their conversation, I'm going to assume that they colluded and they cheated, and that's just not the mindset you want to take. That's not correct, right? And all it's doing, like I said before, I'm just going to repeat myself, it's just hurting the community. It's not helping the community. What helps is a constructive talk of us saying, hey, next time, we want to make sure that we play out this championship match, if we can, right? Or we want to make sure that it's clear what's happening. We want to make sure that everybody's on the same page as far as that's concerned. And I was talking to a friend of mine earlier today about this. And he said that his biggest issue with all of it is just the reaction from the community, from specific players. Not all the players, but there are some players who reacted very poorly. Like I said, the personal insults and attacks. He said if he was if this was a job, if this was a workplace, right, and something were to go down that you didn't understand or you didn't like, and you reacted the way you did, the way that some of these players did, they would be fired. Like, it would be over. You can't react like that. You have to be adults, right? We have to be able to take it and talk about it. And now if you're angry, I'll be honest, if I was in that player's shoes and it's sudden death and the other guy mulligans to a pillar flame and just kills me and he wins, of course I would not be happy. It would not feel good. I would probably want to speak with the judge, but in a calm way. I would want to speak to him and argue my point. And maybe he'll change his mind, maybe he won't. Remember that at a tournament like that, whatever the head judge says goes. Whatever he says is what's going to happen. Now, in the rare case, it's rare, it doesn't happen very often, but in the rare case where he is wrong about something, he is still the head judge. That is how it's done. It's just like in sports, where if the referees make a mistake, remember the replacement refs, that big issue? Now, I'm not saying our judges like the replacement refs, because our judge is great, but the replacement refs were a joke. Remember how they were making bad calls? They can't go back. You don't go back on your call. Whatever the referee says goes. In the end, that's what happens. And that's the same way with the head judge in a Magic tournament. If you have more than one judge, you can appeal to the head judge. But whatever he says, that's what's happening that day, and that's the end of it. If you're not happy, talk to him afterwards about it. Give him some feedback. Maybe write an email to the regional coordinator. Now, don't write a fiery email about how he's the worst ever and I hate him so much. Don't do that. Maybe just write and explain what happened in a professional way, in a respectful way. Explain what happened and ask the regional coordinator for advice on on what he thinks should have happened there, how he would have handled the situation, and then he'll give feedback to the judge if necessary. But don't freak out and attack people. It was just so disappointing. I was very disappointed in how this all went down, especially because now there are rumors going around, and that's huge. That's huge. This store, the States was held at Game Haven. Game Haven did nothing wrong as a store. But now all of a sudden, people are talking about all this garbage and blah, 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 and boycott, and that just needs to stop, guys. It just needs to stop. You need to understand what did happen, and the facts, those are what matter, right? If there really was collusion or something, if whatever, the facts, the things that actually happened, and you know they happened. Like, not that you think happened or that makes sense, but that actually happened. That's what matters. Your opinion on things or how you feel about things, it doesn't apply. It doesn't apply. And when you make those kind of allegations, you look the fool. You look like you have no idea what you're talking about when you start throwing accusations out there at people. So guys, I guess in the end, just handle it like adults. Well, they're not going to replay the matches. So some people are talking about that. That's not the right way to do this. They're not going to try and resolve it in some other way. They're not going to give more prizes to certain people. What happened. And hopefully we can learn from it for next year. But they did everything by the book. They did everything by the book. Nothing was done that was against the Magic tournament rules. And everything outside of States, when you start bringing other things into it, that doesn't apply at all. It doesn't apply, and it's just mean. And it should stop, guys. Now, other than that, I love you guys very much. Like I said, this video is more for the Utah community than anything else. I love you guys. Shape it up. We got to be more mature. We have the Utah Open and the Utah Invitational coming up in about 2 months, and we got to be ready, and we got to make sure we can handle it. If this goes well, this will be the biggest tournament that Utah's had besides the Grand Prix, right? But if it doesn't go well, if it tanks, then it tanks. This is a big deal. I don't think I'm going to share a little bit of inside information with you guys. I don't know if players understand. This is literally a joining of the 5 pillar stores in Utah. There are many other stores, but there are 5 that are, like I said, the pillars. They're the big stores. And the fact that all 5 of them have joined together for this Utah Invitational is a really big deal, guys. It's a really big deal. It could push the community in a whole new direction, right? We could have more store tournaments. We could have stores talking with each other. And I don't know, like the Arizona Magic scene seems great. That's just an example, right? They have their Arizona Magic players website, and it seems like they really corroborate really well. It seems like it on the surface, at least. And Utah should get there. We can get there. But we have to be respectful, guys. We have to be mature. We have to be adults, right? We have to we have to talk to people, have rational conversations, and then let your ration decide. Let your ration dictate. Don't let your feelings, don't let your, what you think happened or what you heard happened from someone else. Don't let that decide what happens. Don't let that dictate it. But let your ration decide. Other than that, I think I'm out. I think I ran out of things to say. Keep it up. Let's play the Utah Invitational. Let's play in all of our qualifiers. And let's have a great time, okay? I love you guys.